Hello and welcome to our millions of viewers here in Nigeria, the continent, and all around the world. This is the Morning Brief. Thank you indeed for joining us here on the program. As always, I am Kelly Egiga.
Wherever you're watching us from, we're live for you from our global headquarters here in Lagos. Thank you for joining us. I'm Bukola Koka.
Bukola, good to see you. Perhaps you're wondering where Jeff is. Well, he joins us live from the nation's capital. We'll see how we can connect with him very briefly. He's in the Abuja studios. But let's walk you through what we're tracking for you this morning. Yesterday, it was all over the news. The House of Reps summoning the IGP to present the fake DG, some would say the phantom DG. Some have called him, actually asking the IGP to present him for questioning or for probing. So that's the latest tweets we're hearing as regards that particular story. Whether or not Prince Adeyemi will be presented to the House of Reps, we'll find out perhaps in the coming hours. That's the latest tweets. It's again still difficult to perhaps digest how we're still referring to this man as fake, because yesterday as well the accountant general was also summoned, and he made a case for his ministry. I mean, he said that Adeyemi presented fake letters, and so when they saw those letters, they felt, you know what, it looked real to them. And I'm just wondering, perhaps, is there no way to determine whether a letter is fake or original, such that those offices were, well, maybe manipulated or deceived or cajoled, so all of a sudden the accountant general realizes that the letters that were presented were fake. So that's the latest twist. It's interesting to see what will play out in the coming hours if the IGP will indeed present Prince Adeyemi to the House of Reps so they can continue with their investigation. Remember that this matter as well is at the court, so it's interesting. The House of Reps carrying out their own investigation at the court as well. There are litigations there, and then of course the ICPC is also probing this particular controversy or scandal as well. Bukola.
Yes, indeed. We did trail this particular subject at the beginning of the week yesterday on the program. We've seen a consistent dissociation by officials of the state government agencies of this particular DG. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation had, at the commencement of this probe by the House of Reps, disowned this agency, but acknowledged that indeed documents were presented for application for an office at the Secretariat, but because they didn't pass the scrutiny, the application was not granted. Yet, this agency found space for operations at the State Government Secretariat. 3 days ago, I believe on Friday, we did see also the Director General of the Budget Office, Tani Muturaki, also disowning this agency, saying that they didn't draw funds at all. We've now seen the Accountant General of the Federation also speak to these matters, saying that they did receive an application for this particular agency to get a code, but no transfers, no funds were made. But then I wonder if the right questions are being asked as this probe by the House of Reps continues. What was the timeline of these activities? Was it last year? Was it 2024? And if indeed these government officials are disowning this particular Director General of now what government would have us believe a fake agency, why was there no whistle blown? Why did the Office of the Civil Service not raise the alarm over the operations of an agency that didn't get requisite documentation to operate at the agency? If these findings were done by the Director General of the Budget Office, the Accountant General of the Federation, where if these findings they're telling us were made last year, why are we just hearing from them now when things have blown over? If the Accountant General of the Federation is having us know that the document from the State House, stating a request for the code to be opened for this fake agency was found last year. And why didn't the Office of the Accountant General raise the alarm to the State House that this documentation that we have seen, requesting a code is fake? Why are we just hearing about it now? We've seen this individual interact with members of the diplomatic community. We've seen him in pictures with state government officials. And so this probe, questions coming from this probe are still unsatisfactory as far as possible. And at the same time, the House of Reps must now summon officials of the state government that have been named in this particular scandal. Else, it will be the voice of the strong prevailing over the voice of the weak in this particular matter, because this individual has not shied away from giving an account of his own experience as far as his operations are concerned.
Absolutely.
Abuja is looking good on Jeffrey this morning as he finally joins us. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hello, Bukola. Hello, Kelly. Good morning and welcome to Abuja. Let me welcome you officially from the nation's capital. We are used to the nation's commercial capital, but this is the nation's administrative capital. And what you've been talking about shows a failure of internal mechanism, institutional mechanism in the administration of things. Because right now, everybody is lifting their hands, said, I did my part in ensuring that this guy did not get through with all the things that he claimed to have gotten through. But one thing is a fact. His budget found its way into the presidency budget. It's not just an MDA, the presidency. Item number 8 in that presidency budget is he found a way to have an office at the state secretariat, not at a Moro, with staff working with him. He found a way to also go through a process of perhaps trying to start an account or open an account with the central bank. Initially, when Barananuga stated what this was about, he actually said the man opened an account, but no monies were released. And then we heard another thing from the accountant general. We're hearing all kinds of things. Now, this is where the problem lies. Nobody wants to take responsibility. Everybody's trying to dodge this. But somebody must go, and some persons must take the fall with this guy. It will be poor, both from the House of Representatives, absolutely poor from the ICPC, if Prince Adeyemi is the only one that takes the fall, because that is going to be acceptable by the Nigerian people. From the office of the Chief of Staff to the office of the Secretary General of the Federation to the head of service to members of the National Assembly to budget office, we must find a way. There is arguably, allegedly, some level of complicity somewhere. It's difficult not to believe that there's no complicity somewhere. So if this House of Reps wants to do a thorough job for Nigerians, it's either somebody wasn't smart enough or quick enough to identify to blow the whistle at when they should blow the whistle. Now that someone else has blown the whistle, everybody's raising their hand and said, okay, I saw it, but I didn't do this. It's not acceptable. Let's this not go the way of the NDDC probe. There are other probes we've had that have gone under the shelf. We've had all kinds of probes, even the humanitarian ministry, and now certain persons with that ministry are talking. We don't know how that ended with the EFCC. So if the administration and if government in general wants citizens to take them very seriously, after all of this ICPC probe as well as the House hearing, we must see other people join this guy in whatever punitive measure is being taken, either for negligence or for not blowing the whistle at the right time or for being even complicit in the first place. So all this I'm hearing, well, is within their right to state what they know and what they've done in terms of their own control system to ensure that it doesn't follow through. By the end of the day, it will be failure on government, failure on those who are probing, failure on those who are asking questions, and it will even be failure for us as journalists if we cannot, double down on the government to say, Prince Adeyemi did not act alone. Do you know what the presidency is? It's an institution. So for somebody to find his way into the institution, whether monies were passed or not, but somebody to go through the process he's gone through, the bribery case, all of that, the court will sort that. We'll leave the courts to sort out the things that the court will sort out. But it's impossible, near difficult, for anyone to convince rational, consensus Nigerians that this guy acted alone. Now, it's not acceptable. So we allow them to do their work. By the end of the day, this guy, who they have established from their own probe, looks like a fake, a fraud as alleged, must not go down alone. I think that's my 1 cent on this matter.
All right, Jeff. I mean, we totally agree with you here on this table. I've said before that the doors of government don't just open to anyone. Somebody from inside always gets to open the doors of government. And so it will be interesting to see how these investigations would go. The probe as well by the ICPC. We're waiting to see. 30 days. Remember, the president gave the ICPC 30 days. We have to count down and ensure that they know that we are watching and waiting to see that this particular report doesn't disappear in the pipelines. But Jeff and Bukola, that's not all we're tracking this morning. Sadly, in Anambra State, 2 days ago, there was a building collapse. 2 persons, we understand, have been confirmed dead. It's really very, very tragic to hear of these kind of stories where people have to lose their lives as a result of this. But this time it's even more tragic because the persons who lost their lives were students and who were living in a particular hostel. If my memory serves me right, I know how these hostel facilities can work, where you know, perhaps you know how students are. One person can invite a coursemate and all of that to come squat with him. Sometimes they are up to 3 or 4 in a room. So we don't know perhaps what could have played out. We're going to have that conversation here on the program this morning. But another building collapse, really very sad, in Anambra State. Bukola.
Well, we'll explore that more later on the program, and so we're just going to reserve our horses at this particular point in time. But speaking of building collapses, the Council for the Regulation of Engineering is also investigating the collapse of a portion of the Gombe State House of Assembly. So definitely, just to quickly add to that, there are more calls at this particular point in time for the regulation of development structures across the country, and not just in Anambra or Gombe, but in every part of the country. But another story that gets our attention, Kelly and Jeffrey, this morning is the federal government's calls for the protection of more Nigerians in South Africa amid the ongoing xenophobic attacks. And it was interesting to see that interaction between Nigeria's minister and the South African minister yesterday. Just to quickly get to the story, the Minister of Foreign Affairs did point out that about 98 Nigerians alone have lost their lives in either mob attacks or hate attacks in 2022 alone. And the South African Foreign Minister also did assure that Nigerians who lost property in ongoing xenophobic attacks, if indeed there are documentations to prove them, that they would get their properties. But Kelly and Jeffrey, what I didn't note and what I sought desperately during that interaction was an apology from the South African government through its Minister of Foreign Affairs to Nigeria over the number of deaths that have been recorded so far, over the number of Nigerians and indeed other African nationals that have been persecuted, that have lost their properties, that have in broad daylight been challenged, been manhandled, been mistreated. There was no apology whatsoever. Now, if the management of migration is a government-to-government responsibility, is a shared responsibility as acknowledged by the South African Foreign Minister, what then is the responsibility of a nation that hosts other nationals, especially towards preventing such violence, preventing such degeneration of relations between nationals, to the extent that we see a persecution detention of other foreign nationals. We see a mishandling of other foreign nationals. We see them lose their properties in broad daylight. What are the internal mechanisms within that country to demand that irregular migrants leave the country? Why has that country left it to their citizens to go about intimidating other nationals? And so that interaction left more questions than answers. It showed indeed the state of affairs of South Africans, how they really do not care about what happens, and as a result, Nigerians must demand better compensation, and of course call the bluff of this particular country. Jeffrey. All right, we'll get to Jeffrey shortly. Let's take a moment now. When we return, it'll be time to look at what the papers are saying this morning.